So we recently, we were reading our YouTube comments and we realized that we haven't made a video yet about why we've decided to move back to Germany. So thank you to those of you who pointed that out to us. You know who you are. So here's Lucas's video. So Lucas, have you thought about staying in Germany? Why do you want to return to America? Is coming back to Germany an option for you later?
Okay, so for me, it's like a really interesting question because we have certainly talked about staying in Germany longer. There were even conversations when we first moved to Germany, largely with Ellie wanting to live here maybe for a really long time, maybe permanently. We didn't really know, but we were just kind of open to the possibility of things being not what we expected when we first moved here in terms of our plans. I'm not personally so stubborn that I have to live in the USA. I'm not afraid to admit that in the USA things are probably not the way I would like them to be right now, right? But I also have a lot of faith in America to improve the way it is and to be better and kind of to be the country that I thought it was when I was younger. And so at this moment in time, I personally don't feel that it's so bad that I can't go back there. Now, if I really thought that America and the USA was so terrible that it really was not a place that I wanted to live the rest of my life and raise a family, I would move. Me and Ellie have talked about even when we were moving away from Germany, of maybe we go live in Canada instead and being in the US, because Canada has a little bit similar government system, right? So we have talked about living other places, and so it's not an absolute no to me to never live in Germany. It's not out of the question, I guess, to come back to Germany and live here someday if that's where we decided our lives were taking us. I wouldn't be completely against it. It's just for me right now, I like the idea of just being back in the USA. For me, the USA, right, is my home. It's where I grew up. I have a lot of friends there, and granted, I have a lot of friends here in Germany too, right? Actually, some of my closest friends in my young adult life have now come from Germany because we've been here so long. And it really will stink to move away and not be by them. But for me, at least deep down, living in the USA is my home. That's where I want to be. That's where a lot of the people that I want to surround myself with are primarily my family, in my case most specifically my mom, but also some of Ellie's family and some of our other friends are there too. And so at least for me, living in the USA just feels more comfortable, feels more like home. It feels more like a system that I'm used to, where even after 4 years, I'm not all that used to the German system. I understand what it's like. I understand that we need to have paperwork for anything we do. I understand there's a specific person to talk to for every logistical problem there is. I get that there's a lot built up around here, and I understand how to kind of navigate all of that, but it's not like the system that I'm used to. And frankly, and maybe selfishly, it's not the system that is comfortable to me because it is so much additional work from my perspective. And I even understand that in the US might be just as bad for foreigners or just as complicated for foreigners as Germany feels to me. But in the USA, I don't have to deal with those problems. I don't have to worry about visa requirements. I don't have to worry if I'm going to get a visa renewal like I've had to for the 4 years that we've lived here. I don't have to make sure that I have enough money to be able to live here according to visa regulations, and things of that nature. And so for me, at this moment, Germany isn't necessarily where I want to be long term. But I really like this question. I really like that this was brought up in our comments. So thank you so much for asking, because I don't think we've ever really tackled it. I think we've tried to, like, subtly and in small bits here and there, but never so, like, directly. And I mean, I get it, right? Like, I'm not so naive or ignorant about, like, the world to just ignore the fact that, yeah, Germany has so many great things going for it. It has affordable healthcare. It has great public transportation. It has, as mentioned in the comments, like, protection for people renting apartments, and so many, like, other great things. It has sick leave. It has maternity leave. It has, we can go on, and so many of you can go on in the comments about, like, all the great things that Germany has. And I totally 100% agree that Germany has, in a lot of ways, so much more going for it than the USA has in terms of, like, social support for the citizens. I can't deny that. I mean, I love it here largely for that reason. I enjoy that while I don't necessarily like paying health insurance, because who does, I enjoy that it's so easy to use that I pay it every month, and if anything happens, I can go see a doctor. That is a nice feeling. I don't necessarily look forward to moving back to the US, where health insurance may be more expensive. It probably will be, and it won't be as, like, covering, It isn't enough just to have health insurance in the USA and go to a doctor. There's more to do than here when it comes to that. So I totally recognize that, like, Germany has so much more going for it from a social structure. But also, me and Ellie have talked about this in the past too. Part of me, and this is, like, me personally, feels that to leave the US because it doesn't have all those things is to kind of, like, be abandoning it and just letting it fall apart. Because to me, I, like, was raised there, obviously. I'm a US citizen. I feel like a certain level of responsibility, especially nowadays, that I didn't feel when I was younger, and that I wish I did feel when I was younger, to, like, make my voice heard in the USA, to be a part of the political system, to improve it, right? To put something towards it. Part of me kind of believes, like, if everyone in the USA left the US to go to Canada or Germany or any of these really positive social support governments in, like, Europe and such, if all the people that really saw that and moved away to do that, all you have left in America are all the people that are kind of pushing all the ideas that we don't believe in America. And I don't think that's, like, the answer to the solution, or an answer to the problem. If we think it can be better, I think we should go back to help make it better. That's, like, one of my opinions on it. And so that's, like, another reason why I wouldn't stay here long term, or why, like, I don't at this moment consider Germany to be the place that I stay. This is not to say, like, at all that I don't like Germany, because I do like Germany a lot, and I like a lot of the people, a lot of the friends we've made, and a lot of the experiences we've had, and, like, the nature. Like, I love southern Germany for, like, its mountain ranges and having access to the Alps and all of that. So there's lots that I'll miss here, but to that end, we can always come back. We don't, just because we go back to the USA does not mean we're done traveling. That's not the case. We're still going to travel. We still want to travel. We want to go scuba diving, as you should all know by now, because we've talked about it so much. So, like, we want to do all these things. And so I believe we can come back to Germany. We have plans to come back in June for a concert that was canceled numerous times because of COVID, and it was finally going to be happening as far as I know. So, like, we will come back. We have lots of reasons to come back, but I think, at least for me right now, my, like, feelings for, like, longing to be home, and, like, missing, like, my mom and family, and just, like, the way the system is in the US and what's available to me there are, like, big enough reasons that even if it's not great in all the ways that Germany might be great, it's better in other ways to me. And that's, like, ultimately what matters. For me, the biggest thing is just that the USA right now, for me, feels a lot more comfortable. I feel more knowledgeable about the area. I feel more at ease doing whatever it is that I decide to do. And I don't, like, feel that sense of ease and comfort here in Germany. And, like, in a lot of ways, I don't think I ever really have. For as long as we've been in Germany, for me, it's always been where can I find the next paycheck? Where can I get the next job? How, you know, how do I like keep my visa going and all that stuff. So for me, as long as we've been in Germany, it's been kind of a constant thing about like survival. Like, what do I do next to make sure everything's okay? And I don't need to do that in the US. I can just be there and just exist. And I don't have to do all this extra stuff. And that might sound like kind of childish or, you know, stupid or something. But at the moment, that's like how I feel. And I do firmly believe that you should, to some degree in your life, do what your feelings and your gut tells you. Like even in my past in the USA, I used to work at a job that paid me a lot more money than other options, but that job didn't make me happy. So I was willing to leave the money aside so that I could work at jobs that made me happier. And in this case, I'm willing to do the same thing. Lots of things about Germany make me happy, but there are a lot of things in the US that make me happy too that aren't available to me in Germany. And I miss those things, and I want those things back, at least for the next, you know, couple of years. Again, if like 10 years from now, the US is just terrible, it's, you know, on par with any, you know, authoritarian government that doesn't care about its people, and it's clear to me that like my family would have a better life expectancy or like a better life in general by moving to Germany or any other country, I am willing to talk about it and happy to put that on the table. But for this moment, it's just not like an option for me to stay in Germany much longer. At this point, for me to stay in Germany for much longer, I would truly have to, one, like really learn the language. As we've talked about in past videos, I have like a rough understanding of the language, but to stay here much longer, I would really have to like really learn it, which is not necessarily a problem because I'm not against learning more German and speaking it more fluently. In fact, I think that's an opportunity I missed out on while we were here, and that's all my fault. But at the time, I just wasn't motivated. But I would have to learn more fluent German to stay here longer because I would need to be able to get like a solid job so that I could actually afford to be here, so that I could then live here long enough and make enough income to show that I should be given, you know, a blue card visa or working visa or whatever it's called. There's just be so much more work from at the point that we're at now. Up to this point, it wasn't like an issue because I was working at the university. I had visas for being like a scientific researcher and things like that. But since then, that's not true, and I don't have interest in being like a student any longer. I want to just be me and working and having a job and doing what I want with my life. And that just isn't a stage that seems to be easily accessible to me in Germany at this point. If I go back to the US, I already speak the language, I already know the culture, I already know how to find jobs or clients for my own business and stuff like that. It's all so much easier and for me to get to where I want to be faster, and I can't do that here. So that's like another big reason why, for me at least, it's time to move. Yeah. And I know that sounds like a little weird, probably, and it does sound weird even in a very logical sense, because it doesn't make a logical sense. Germany has a lot of better things, so why not live here? But I mean, it's not always so simple, right? It's not always so logical. And I think that's kind of, at least for me, where I'm at right now with my life, is that I'm not necessarily looking for the thing that makes the most sense. I'm looking for the thing that makes me the happiest, while not making me live in the dirt on the street. Yeah. So those are my thoughts and feelings on the matter. Again, like, thank you so much for bringing up this comment and asking like this like in-depth question. I think these are things me and Ellie would be happy to have more of in the future. So like, even when we move back to the USA, you can always ask us these deep questions. And if you even like this format of video, let us know and we can do these more again in the future. I think it's kind of fun for us to both like give our opinions without the other one there to influence it. So this should be really interesting, and we will see you later. Thanks for listening.